Hey Tommy, nice to see you for this last show of 2018 already. Hey Jens, saw some great badminton last weekend. Well, it's going to be not that long of a show. I know I said it a few times already, but the way I'm going to show you how to bring in iOS is going to take maybe five maximum 10 minutes. Then I talk about the new purchase I've done, and probably we're going to have a short recap of 2018 and what brings 2019. So that's probably going to be it for this show. For the rest, I've been since yesterday I'm on holiday, so I don't need to work anymore in 2018. Just think on Thursday I'm going for 1 or 2 hours to work, because we are renovating our main auditorium, and that's my first big project. So for the rest, plenty of time. I've been playing a lot with Camtasia, which I've bought a few weeks ago. So currently I'm making a lot of pre-recorded stuff, still learning, but it's a great program and very affordable. Well, affordable if you compare it with the big video editors. Well, yes, Jens, unfortunately the Danes, they made it to the semi-final, but most of the other Danes were injured, or there is a big problem in Denmark between the players and the national federation. I tried to use Google Translate, but I think it's not going well. Apparently the federation is taking advantage of sponsoring that the players are getting, so bad news for Europe. Okay, it's going fast today. Less than a minute. I'll try to start on time, and we'll see how long it's going to take. I think probably maximum half an hour or so. If John is coming, then it's probably an hour, but without John, half an hour. And by the way, this iPad stuff is something I think Tommy requested before my big leave, but that's for later. Let's start the show, shall we? This show is sponsored by Xkeys, the company that knows how to push a button. And as you see, already something went wrong with one of my shortcuts, something I really need to take care of, but hey, it is what it is. So welcome at episode 25 of the School of Live Streaming. I'm Rudy. Welcome Jens and Tommy, and some other people who are watching live. Yeah, it's kind of a, well, special episode 25. It could have been a lot more episodes, but due to some illness and my throat problem, which by the way is a little bit better due to some heavy medication, so that's good. Okay, before we go to the main topic of today, a short notice, and that's, I think it's this one. Okay, let's put this. So this evening for the American people, for the Europeans, it's at 1 a.m. I think. It's the monthly Funtime live stream show of vMix, where they're probably going to talk about vMix 22 again, and they have a giveaway. So that's on 7 p.m. Eastern. And for us, Jens, I think it's 1 o'clock in the night. So those who cannot sleep in Europe, have a look. Maybe they show something new. What's also new is, well, I ordered some stuff. And one of the first things that arrived is this lovely device. And you see how small it is. It's really, I didn't think it was that small. If you see my hand, so this, hi Dave. So this is the Magewell USB Capture HDMI device, Gen 2, not the 4K version. As you know, I'm using the Blackmagic mini recorder to bring in my camera via Thunderbolt. The problem is a lot of other programs like Camtasia, they just recognize a USB capture device. And this is why I've bought this little piece. It's really tiny. It comes in a small box. And with this USB 3 cable. So how did I test it? Well, it was really plug and play. If you use the Blackmagic Studio recorder, you need to install some extra software. Here for the Magewell dongle, you don't need to install extra software. I've installed something extra because then you can verify a few things, but it's not necessary. The first thing I did was tried it with vMix, no problem. Then I installed it, well, I launched Camtasia and it was immediately recognized as a camera. So now I can use a professional camera to bring in that for Camtasia. And I used it also, last week was a big meeting at work with Skype for Business. I was already at home and I called in and I was using this dongle with my green screen, and people at work asked, where are you? And I said, yeah, I'm at home. And then I showed the green screen and the dongle. Really recommended piece of equipment. And I think I'm going to buy a second one. I'm working on a real mobile kit. I've posted a link in my Facebook group. So for those who are interested, have a look. Maybe I'm going to change a few pieces of equipment. I'm also thinking of buying a Live View Solo. Because that's going to be one of the big changes next year is well, I'm going to copy a little bit Martin. Instead of staying behind the computer here, is going outside and do some live interviews. And the Live View is a really nice piece of equipment. And I think there is a price reduction of 17% now till Christmas. So that's something for the future. But let's get to the main topic of today, and that's how can you show iOS. So for those who are from the PC world, iOS is the operating system that's running on an iPhone and an iPad. And I think it was Tommy that asked a few months ago how we could show that. Unfortunately, that was the week before I became ill. And so I was thinking, hey, this is something I want to show today. So let me first show you what I'm using to do it. And as with everything, there are several possibilities. You can use just QuickTime and bring that in, but I'm just using what I already have. And this is how it's working. So what you're seeing here is my gaming laptop. That's the ASUS with vMix installed. And I'm going to bring in MacBook Air via NDI. So, but let's first start. As you see, I have a really old iPad. I don't want to sell it because it's very interesting just to use, for instance, for vMix Social or other stuff. On the iPad 2, I'm going to activate AirPlay. So that's just a swipe from the bottom to the top, you activate AirPlay. And then I have my MacBook Air. And here is the trick. On the MacBook Air, I've installed Reflector. So let me maybe quickly show you Reflector. So Reflector is a program and it costs $15 and it mimics your iOS devices. So they are now on Reflector version 3. I'm still on version 2. The main difference between those two versions is that in version 3 you have the frames of the iPhone 10 and so on. But I'm still using version 2. So that's installed, Reflector, and then I started NDA scan converter. So let me... so what I'm going to do now is I take my iPad. Yeah, it's a green cover, that's why you're not seeing it. Maybe that's better. I'm going to launch AirPlay. I make the connection with my MacBook Air. And now it's running. So what I'll then do is I just add an input and I'm going to use NDI desktop capture, and here you see NDI scan converter. So I'm adding that, and now normally and I have to quickly go over there because it's running the screensaver on my MacBook Air. Okay, this is something you need to take care of. See that your MacBook Air is not in sleeping mode. So I can now show you here my MacBook. And the big advantage of using Reflector is it really mimics an iPad, and it depends on the model you have. It generates automatically the right iPad or iPhone. And even when I turn it now, so you see it's turning the iPad. I can scroll. You see it's really responsive. You see on the bottom still the knobs of my MacBook Air. I'm not going to run again over there. Normally you set that all up very nice. But here I can show you exactly if I want to show how a function is working in on an iPad or an iPhone. You can do it this way. So this is now an iPad 2. if I want to show you my iPhone now, it's exactly the same thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to launch my iPhone. I'm activating screen mirroring. It says that it's doing screen mirroring. And if now you can see that I even have the two next to each other, because on both of my devices screen mirroring is there. Here you see my iPhone. It's an iPhone 7, so it's automatically recognized. I can turn it again if I want to. So if I take, for instance, my Filmic Pro, I turn my iPhone, it's turning the iPhone. If I deactivate screen mirroring on my iPad, then you see only my iPhone. And now I'm showing you here just an image of really what's on my iPhone. So to recapitulate, how am I doing it? I'll show you again the setup. So I have an iPad 2 or an iPhone with AirPlay activated. Then you need another laptop. It doesn't need to be a Mac, by the way. It's also working on PC. You install Reflector and NDI scan converter, and then on your production PC, you just add an NDI input, and then you can show very easily everything you're doing on your iPhone or iPad. What I'm doing is I'm using it this way. I bring it in Camtasia, and then I can add some, well, the mouse movements or the swipe movements, because that, of course, you cannot see. And someone is saying, Dave is seeing here, dual audio slightly delayed. Yes, Dave, that was probably because I didn't did my audio that way. Okay. Let me have a quick look before we go further to the chat. Dave is saying PTZ Optics recommended a gift for your favorite AV uncle. Well, I want to buy something for you, Uncle Dave, but from someone else then. Sport News USA, hi. You are asking which live view product? Probably the Solo. And let me maybe quickly look this up. Live view Solo. Okay. This is this. So this is the live view Solo. It's a very small piece of equipment, and the big advantage is that you can do some bonding. So you can add, I think it's 2 dongles. You can add an Ethernet, and you can bond all these 3 together. Now, it's not cheap. It's about $1,000, and then you need to pay a monthly fee for the bonding. And then you can also set up your own RTMP server. But I'm going to have a look at this piece of equipment. And yeah, probably I'm going to buy this, and also maybe the Sound Devices MixPre 6, which I want to buy to replace my big mixing board. But I want to use also my MixPre 6 as a mobile audio device recorder. Hi, Elmar. Welcome. Yeah, so I showed you how to bring in an iOS device. I showed you the USB capture HDMI dongle. That was it more or less for topics of today. So there are just two small topics I want to address. That's to look back briefly, well, and then mainly at the live streaming point, 2018, and then maybe look what maybe can 2019 give us. For 2018, for me personally, it was of course the start of the School of Live Streaming. And yeah, it didn't work out as I was thinking it was going to work out. It was certainly after my summer recess a real struggle, mainly because to do a weekly show and to talk about interesting topics, it's difficult. And I was really struggling to find decent topics every week, because at a certain moment, I can explain again and again data sources of whatever in vMix, but it stops at a certain point. I was fortunate enough that in the vMix, on the vMix forum, some questions were asked that I could use to explain some stuff. But it was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So personally, I think the balance is slightly negative for the first year of the School of Live Streaming. We're going to revamp the School of Live Streaming. After New Year, we're going to try something else, bringing more live people. But yeah, that was the first thing. I'm not 100% happy with how it evolved. The biggest plus of 2018 has been IBC, of course. Why? Not only because I was working for vMix, it was nice. But one, I saw Jens again. And also, it was so nice to meet the people from PI Engineering. Never saw them before, but Dan, Maggie, and all the other ones, they became friends. And for me, that's on live streaming point, yeah, the biggest plus of 2018. So that those virtual friends can become real friends. Without, of course, forgetting Martin Steed and all the other ones from SOLS. But having some people, even people who are watching here every week the show, it gives you always that something extra to continue your live stream. Because I know a lot of people stopped doing live stream, probably for the same reasons, for other reasons. But if you have some virtual or real friends, it really helps. So thank you, guys. On a technological standpoint, I think we cannot pass NDI. I think the way NDI evolved and is evolving is huge. Unfortunately, at the same time, I think it's a burden for a lot of people. Because if you're lucky, it's working immediately. If it's not working, I think you really need some networking knowledge. How to set up a router, maybe how to set up a VLAN, the right cables, pluses and minuses of NDI. But at IBC, it was clear that almost everything was audio and video. It's going via a network cable. And just to give you an example, I'm I'm working now on our main auditorium at work, and we ordered a new Panasonic camera, and I said, look, I want an SDI camera, but with the NDI option, that I'm ready if I want to do something with it. I'm not sure what I want to do with it. I have some ideas, but that you're ready. And I think if you're buying stuff and you can afford it, because it's still not cheap NDI, that it's a good idea to invest in NDI options. I think for the rest of 2018, I almost forgot. For the first time, I went in a long time. I went to the UK for Streamfest Live, which was great again to do it. But it was so nice to meet Martin for the first time, and Martin K also, and Giles. So that was really nice. And it brings me to 2019. What I think that's going to happen in 2019, and I don't know, to be honest. Probably NDI. It's going to be NDI, NDI, NDI. Of course, at NAB, they're going, for most of us, they're going to launch vMix 22. To be honest, I don't know if it's going to be that big of a leap for a lot of people. Certainly for those who want to do graphics, the titler designer is really huge. The graphics engine Martin wrote is a really nice thing. But maybe they're coming with something that no one of us expected. So vMix 22, more NDI implementations and cheaper NDI implementations. And if there's something I really want to see changing in 2019, that is that more people are doing live streaming, but with more, how do I say it, with a bigger focus on the production part and not on the gear part. And I've made, and I'm still making the same mistakes, but I think on our live shows and in the forums, we talk too much only about the equipment and the equipment we have or want to buy. And there are not that many people who really talk about the production itself, how to make a good production. I know, for instance, that I promised, and I really going to do it the next coming weeks, a kind of a checklist, Elmar. I promised it months ago. A checklist, for instance, that can help avoid problems. But what makes a good production? And these are the things I'd like to do. I don't know if I'm going to find someone, but I really want to talk with someone that does production work and that say, how to setting up all this stuff, the preparation, all these things. This is something I really want. That's going to change in 2019. Okay. And still 5 minutes till the half hour. Before I go, and please feel free to ask put any questions into the chat. I want to say a big thank you to all of you who watched my show this year. And I hope you have a really nice and peaceful Christmas and a good new year with everything you want. And for those who I don't see anymore, till next year. So thank you. I I'll have a look if there are any more questions now in the chat. Apparently not. Okay. Yeah. One thing I also want to say next year is I asked Jens already a few times, but I wasn't doing a very good follow-up. This is I'll try to do an interview with Jens about instant replay because he's the instant replay master. So that's already a topic for next year. Okay, thank you, Elmar. So, if there are no more questions, I'll just have a fade to black and have a few more minutes into the chat room. Thank you and bye-bye. Okay, and I think I'm back. It's the first time I've used the fade to black, by the way, so always scary. Sportnets USA is asking which Panasonic camera am I looking at. The exact model I'm not sure, but I'm going to do a small movie about what we change at work. And I'll bring it into my live show after New Year. So I don't know the exact model. It's not a very expensive camera, but it's SDI combined with SDI. What I also asked is for an extra an audio mixer, and we are working a lot with, but I forgot the brand. We had to do all the switching between all the stuff. Crestron. So all our Crestron equipment is 1080p, and we're going to change it all to 4K. So because our projector is a 4K projector, that's an expensive one. But we're going to put everything on 4K. And then I'm going to do some programmation on a kind of a iPad thing so that people can switch between a few sources. And then our 19-inch rack is going to be cleaned up. So that's more or less what's happening. And yes, Elmar, under 30 minutes. I think that's the first. Yeah, mainly because of again a lack of topic. I had some topics, but then it was going to be a show again for more than an hour, and I wanted to do a very laid back show. Still found some interesting stuff with data sources, but it's very technical. So probably I'm going to do a pre-recorded thing. And I think it was last week that someone told me, yeah, your shows are a little bit too long. And I think maybe he's right. So one of the ideas is that I do like for instance with the iPad, that I do a pre-recording of it, that I can put it already on my website. And when I have my show, I know, for instance, okay, it's going to be exact 5 minutes and it's working flawlessly. I don't have to run behind my camera to do something. So then the show is going to be a lot more dynamic, because I think that's also one of the reasons. Well, I started with, of course, with SOLS, and it's exactly the strength of SOLS that people are talking a lot. We're bringing up new discussions, and probably I copied that a little bit too much. So I'm still trying to find the good balance between talking and explaining stuff. Okay. Yeah, no. Some bad news coming in here from our national television, but I'm not going to bother you with that. I saw a question on the vMix forum from someone who was asking if you can export your Facebook or YouTube comments. And to be honest, well, there was an answer, a blunt answer from someone who is always blunt. But I looked it up and I couldn't find a solution so far to do an export, because I really think that could be handy if you could export your comments so you can reuse them in the same show or next show to or on your website to show people some stuff. So that could be handy. Maybe, if I'm correct, in vMix 22, but I'm not 100% sure, that there was going to be kind of a shortcut to put something out immediately on Facebook or stream a comment. So maybe that could be a solution. But I didn't find a decent solution. I don't know if anyone in the chat has a solution for that. Yeah. For the rest, I think that's it for me, guys. I'm not going to bother you any longer with some chit chat. Thanks again for showing up. Next week is Christmas, so enjoy the meals. Don't eat too much. I'm always gaining weight on Christmas and New Year. But hey. So thank you and see you back in 2019. Bye-bye.